30 years ago this week, a phenom was born. Seemingly crawling from the darkness with his manager Paul Bearer, The Undertaker debuted on Survivor Series 1990. Since then, he's captured the hearts of all his creatures of the night, and whether he was in the dark times or whether he was in the light, he never, ever failed to captivate his audience. Tonight, we honor the 30-year legacy of one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, The Undertaker, Mark Calaway. However you want to call him, forever, he will be, if not the greatest, one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. Let's have that conversation. Let's talk about the American Badass. Let's talk about the Dead Man. Let's talk about a 30-year legacy that will never, ever be duplicated. Tonight, we honor The Undertaker, as this past Sunday at Survivor Series, he came in the ring and he grabbed a microphone and he told us, his creatures of the night, that it is now time for The Undertaker to rest in peace. Welcome to another edition of Around the Turnbuckle. My name is the Big Al Boski. His name is Professor Keith. Down below is the Little Al Boski. We are here, guys, on a Saturday night as usual, but we weren't supposed to be here because we were supposed to be in Quakertown and Lebanon, respectively, but then COVID had to go fuck shit up. And new restrictions, safety first, we understand that, but we were so looking forward to checking out our boys in CCW. Big shout out to Rob, Noxious and Company. Big shout out to JT Funk, Prince Shango. Big shout out to Triple WA, James Brickhouse, JT Cage. Big shout out to all you guys that were, Tony Batista, all you guys that were going to entertain us, JCM, the Hat Guy, John Bailey, all you guys, man. I know you guys can't wait to get back into the ring, and we can't wait to be sitting there ringside. Keith, how you feeling tonight, man?
I'm tired, a little cranky, kind of work-related things, but, and we also got to talk about wrestling.
What's up, Chrissy? Chrissy is watching us on YouTube. Yes, on 2M1L Media. Again, look at that thing on the bottom of the screen, folks. That's ticker tape across the bottom there. Attention all around the Turnbuckle fans. In January of 2021, we're giving you plenty of notice that we are no longer streaming live on Facebook. We will be exclusively on YouTube. Not to say that we're not going to share the YouTube link on Facebook. That's not what we're saying. We're saying we're just not going to stream live on Facebook. So if you don't want to miss a single episode of Around the Turnbuckle or all our programs that we're in league with, get over to 2M1L Media, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and you won't miss a damn thing. That being said, this past Sunday at Survivor Series, The Undertaker's Farewell, he got into the ring. He said what he said. He walked out of the ring. He did his thing. It was exciting. Probably not the same reaction as if there was a crowd there. It was fun, though. I unfortunately had to get through Survivor Series, Keith, in order to get to that moment, right?
You did. Boy, what a mixed bag of a show.
Yeah.
I mean,
it wasn't all bad.
No, it was not. I absolutely thought Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre was off the charts. Hi, Alex. I thought those two guys really cemented that they're the guys going forward. That for whatever you're going to call this era, they're the guys. They're the guys that are going to be driving that engine, no
Yep,
doubt. I
absolutely.
would love to see that again. But at the same token, boy, you got to do that sparingly, I think, to really make that work. Isaac.
Zach checking in from Florida, man. Tampa's strong down there. Al, what do you want to say something to your brother there?
Yeah, apparently not so much.
Dead silence right there.
Yeah.
Oh, he's muted.
Yeah, I can't.
Okay.
Okay.
You want to say something? I'm sorry. I muted you because you were going like this during the Undertaker thing, and I could hear everything. For some reason, you weren't muted during the intro.
Yeah, I thought I heard something.
All right.
Well,
So you want to say something to your brother?
You said he's not in Tampa. He's next to Tampa.
He's near Tampa, right? They're not laughing with him. They're laughing next to him.
No, not quite.
God.
So Al,
Anyway,
yeah, Al. So what's your reaction to the Undertaker's farewell? Did you watch it at all? I mean, you did watch it, right?
Yeah, I'm one of the people who just simply can't believe he's gone ever, because he, like, when WrestleMania time comes around, like, until he doesn't show up, I'm not going to truly believe he's done, because he's done this before. This was a bigger, yeah. Alex is
also
right.
a great match, Alex. You're right.
That was a
New
good
Day
match.
and the Street Profits was excellent.
But he faked us out how many times? He put his, like, when he laid his hat down and stuff after the Roman Reigns match, we thought that was it. I know Keith especially thought that was it.
Supposed to be it.
Yeah,
he's admitted to that. That was supposed to be it,
but
he wasn't happy with it.
But like it keeps going, and this is the end of the Undertaker, and I agree with some of the points that have been said recently. Like, I mean, now that he's out of the bag, I know Keith in our group chat made a good point that if he ever comes back, because of all these documentaries, people will see him as Mark Calloway, as the Undertaker now.
Yeah,
because but it's still just really hard to, like, just sort of say he's not going to come back, because I'm not going to say he's ever going to wrestle again, because I don't think he will. But when
showing up,
but when WrestleMania time comes around, like, it's until he doesn't show up, I simply can't believe that he's gone for good.
Right. And I can't. I
understand that, but I mean, yeah, because that's my point. Is because, speaking of the chat, we know there's someone in the chat that may or may not be watching this show that always has a rumor or something going on that was like, oh, well, you're going to be so upset because the whole point of a farewell is that the Fiend is going to come out and lay waste to him and, kiss his wife or whatever the fuck, and it's going to be all that putting him on, and it's all going to be setting up the Mania match. And I'm like, why? No, like, the whole point to me of what Taker is doing is he's salting the earth for himself. He's slamming the door on this because he doesn't want to come back. And he needs Vince to understand, don't ask me and don't put me in the position to have to say no to you. Because I understand what he talks about when he talks about loyalty. Because if Vince McMahon doesn't call him and doesn't present him with The Undertaker, what is Mark Calloway's career? It's not this. It is not this. And I mean, when you look at it, he's made more money. He's had greater longevity. I mean, I'm hearing the arguments already. And look, my biases are on Front Street. They're behind me. I got the shirt on. I got everything. So you want to say you're biased, you can't say this, that's fine. I'll argue with you about it. So go ahead and tell me.
He'd be glad to.
But I think The Undertaker has had the single greatest career, at least the single greatest career in any one promotion that anyone has ever had. Period.
So Zach says he wonders if Kane is next. What, Kane's saying that he's never going to wrestle again?
I think Kane is basically retired. I mean, he is the mayor of Knox County, Tennessee. He's the mayor of the county. I think he has political aspirations
He
beyond.
showed up in character
And
to honor him.
Right, and I mean, I think he's going to do things like that. Just like I would argue. Did you see The Last Taker? No, I think he's going to do the Hall of Fame. I think if you can present him with an appearance that makes enough sense, he's going to come back. But I feel like because Mark Calloway, and I mean, if anyone watched the Broken Skull sessions, he flat out says it on the Broken Skull sessions.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to do this for the rest of my life.
Right.
My mind still wants to do it. My heart is still in it. My body is destroyed. I can't do it physically.
Yeah, he wants the want is there.
He goes out and parodies himself.
The want is there. The tool, he doesn't have the tools anymore.
No.
And so that, I mean, that it's a sad thing. It's a sad situation. But
and the thing he won't say, and I think it's true, is where are the opponents that are worthy for him right now? And I'm not knocking anybody's talent or anybody's athletic ability. This is the greatest generation athletically that there has ever been in the wrestling business.
Yeah.
They are among the least over, the least truly over, because nobody understands how to get anybody over anymore.
Yeah.
From a booking perspective, or even the talent themselves don't seem to understand how to get themselves over like the older guys understood how to get themselves and get each other over. So, I mean, when you look at it from that perspective, he's wrestled AJ Styles, who's maybe one of the last guys still going that does have those tools.
Yeah.
I feel like he gets in there now. Anything else is going to be been there, done that, because any of the guys that are really made right now that you could say, well, that guy's worthy. Okay, Taker already wrestled him.
Right.
So why do we want? So it just becomes a rerun.
Right.
So I mean, he's never going to say that because he's, too smart and too diplomatic, and he wants it to continue. But there's nobody left for him either to go through the brutality that he's going to have to go through to get himself ready.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. He's had a great run. The fact that the farewell address happened 30 years to the day he debuted, I thought that's nostalgically historic, and I thought that it was perfect way to end the whole thing. And I mean, not like you said, not to say he's ever gonna not make an appearance here and there, Alan. But the thing is that wrestling ever again, I mean, he could walk away and still walk, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one more bad, he's not getting any younger, so one more bad miss or whatever, and he might be carried out. And I mean, you talk about a guy who's been protecting his character for years. Is that the last image we want to see of the Undertaker? You know what I mean? Like being carried out on a stretcher.
It's not what I want.
It's not what anybody wants. It's not what anybody wants.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're not going to talk about his career because we did that on that episode called The Last Ride when we were talking about the Last Ride documentary. If you have not seen the Last Ride documentary, I urge you to watch it. It's long, but it's great. He allowed cameras to follow him around for
you don't want to pay for the network.
He allowed cameras to follow him around for 2 freaking years as a gift to us, his fans. So if you haven't seen that, I urge you to check it out on the network. Also, the Broken Skull sessions. He had one earlier with Stone Cold a month or two ago, and now he's got another one. Like they did a second part of that.
Watch both, especially watch the second part. Wrestlers Court Stories.
I wish it was Undertaker versus Sting. A lot of people want that, Alex, and both guys can't do it. I mean, neither one can do it.
If it was 10, 20 years ago, that was the time to do it.
And that
was really the time.
Sting has said that. Sting has said that himself a million times over.
Yeah.
One of his biggest regrets is that he didn't come to WWE sooner, so that he could at least have that WrestleMania match with the Undertaker.
Yeah. Yeah,
Alan, Alan, how you feeling down there, man? Are you awake?
What?
I'm just making sure you're awake.
Yeah, you guys were talking. You were.
Okay.
And we're not talking about his flippy dippy. So.
Oh yeah, here we go.
TJ, the episode I need. Absolutely, man. We all need closure, and I don't think any of us are ever going to get it because, like, we just don't want it to end, right? We know we can't wrestle anymore, but we don't want it to end. We don't want it to be like over.
Well, I mean,
Zach is like, my boss asked you if you remember the match between Undertaker and Kane. Which one?
I mean, those guys, and you look at that too. I mean, that feud, all the permutations, the ups and downs, everything that happened there. I mean, and that's one of the beautiful things I think about what Mark Calloway, WWE, everybody involved did. Is if you just wrote down the Undertaker and Kane feud, everything that happened, all the backstory, all of it, and you wrote that in a book, and somebody read it, they would go, "This is the stupidest thing that I've ever read." What in the goddamn hell possessed you,
right,
to write something this stupid?
Yeah.
And yet, because of everyone that was involved, everything that was done, and you can't discount, William Moody, Percy Pringle, Paul Bearer. We love you. We will love you forever. It worked. It is one of the most memorable feuds ever.
I thought it was badass.
I mean, look, I've read Shakespeare and shit, so I mean, I'm not just some dumb hillbilly, whatever that everybody stereotypes.
You just offended all the hillbillies.
Whatever. Well, they'll get over it. They know what their reputation is.
They're
out hunting today. This is the biggest hunting day of the year. The Saturday after Thanksgiving.
They're too busy. They're too busy ruining my morning.
Yeah, they ruined Alan's morning. They flooded his store on their way out, and all their camo and their orange, and they're going out getting in them tree stands and blowing some deer's heads off.
Eating 3 gas station cheeseburgers for breakfast.
Yeah.
That's
breakfast of champions, Al.
Oh, yeah.
Just wait another month or two. We're going to be flooded with them getting their new licenses from next year.
All right.
Anyway, we're off topic.
No, I understand. And look, let's all have one last word on this because we're going to switch topics. So one last word on the Undertaker. Alan, you go first. One last word on the Undertaker.
One of the greatest careers of all time, easily top 5. Not my personal top number 1, but definitely a top 5. Although, and like I said, I don't think he'll ever wrestle again, but until I don't see him show up, I think we'll see him again, but we'll never see him wrestle again.
Keith?
So, I mean, to me, I think pound for pound, it's the best career because he was in one place for 30 years. He was a top guy from day one.
Yeah.
He wrestled and he defeated every single top guy in the territory. I mean, anytime you needed to draw a house, you just needed to throw him on that card.
Hard to argue that, T. Hard to argue that.
It's definitely hard to argue that with me because, people will throw out Shawn Michaels or Ric Flair, and he wrestled the both of them, and I defy you to tell me that they carried him in any way, in any part, in any step of those matches.
Either one of those gentlemen would tell you that didn't happen.
No,
all right,
he was right there with him.
Ric Flair. Have you seen Ric Flair's Stone Cold Broken Skull sessions where he admits that he was probably the best wrestler of all time? He's called the GOAT all the time, but he had his wrestling was very basic. He didn't have anything crazy.
He didn't need to, and that's an argument I always have with the guys now, and Taker too. I mean, and that's one of the things about Taker that's so amazing is he started out basic as fuck. I mean,
exactly.
if you watch,
my
If you
favorite
watch one
Undertaker.
Undertaker match, you've watched them all kind of, because he was told to wrestle in a very deliberate way. You know, when you talk about the 5 moves of doom with John Cena or
Yeah,
Hulk Hogan or
Oh,
anybody
here we
like
go.
that, Taker was very much there. And yet, as he got older, it got harder.
right,
That is the reverse of what just about everybody does, where you
right.
kill yourself at the beginning and then you get to the end and you beat the shit out of yourself. And I have a lot of respect for Taker too, where he resisted the temptation, because Taker could have gone another 5 years at least with just like tombstone, choke slam, boot. Let me do all my
Yeah,
signatures, and we'll just have a formulaic 10-minute match, and boom, done. Give me my money. And he wouldn't be the first guy to have done it. And you got to respect somebody that says, no, I have too much pride in myself. I have too much pride in what I do to do that. You know, The Undertaker is one of my heroes, and it's things like that that are why. There will never be another one. People will still try to tell me, well, who's next Undertaker? Who's the next Undertaker? Nobody. There
no,
will never, ever, ever
not in
be.
our
And,
lifetime. I'm
no,
not in
I
our
don't think ever. I don't think ever. I don't think the business is built for it anymore. There will never be another one like The Undertaker. You truly watched an era end last Sunday night, and it is never coming back.
All right, I agree with TJ. Other than the fact that he calls him the greatest wrestler of all time, I call him the greatest attraction of all time. Okay, not to say that he wasn't a great wrestler, because he was. The thing I respect most about him is that throughout his entire career, all his peers look up to him in the back, talk to him. All his people, like, kind of sponge that brain as much as they possibly could, pick that brain as much as they possibly could, or he allowed. Paid it forward over and over and over and over again to many, many different superstars. Paved the way for a lot of them. Gave them an opponent that was this giant of a man, this mystique, this whatever you want to call him. I
Gave
love the
Glenn
fact.
Jacobs a career. It was Taker who approved. I mean, the Kane gimmick was pitched to him, but he approved it, and he said Glenn Jacobs is the guy that needs to be Kane. This guy I wrestled
There you
in
go.
Smoky Mountain, Unabomb, he needs to be Kane. That's the guy.
He helped make him. He helped make Stone Cold. He helped make The Rock. He helped make Michaels better. He helped make at least his legacy better, I should say. Michaels was already good. But, I mean, those matches with The Undertaker are two of the best matches of all time. So, Triple H, I mean, he gave a great opponent to Triple H, the list goes on and on and on and on and on. But, like, paying it forward, shaking John Cena's hand in the back when he did the ruthless aggression thing with Kurt Angle and saying, nice job, kid. Randy Orton,
Yeah,
Edge,
he needed the fuck out of Randy Orton.
right? I mean, and the wars he had with Mankind.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all that stuff, man. I can go on and on and on and on, but to me, I'm the kind of guy that has 2 Mount Rushmores. All right, I don't have one Mount Rushmore with 4 wrestlers on it, because that's impossible to me. I think to me, I have an ECW Mount Rushmore, a WCW Mount Rushmore, a WWE Mount Rushmore, and Undertaker is for sure on my WWE Mount Rushmore.
I think he should be on an overall Mount Rushmore too.
I'm gonna put this
Greatest
question up here,
attraction of all time.
AJ. I'm not saying he made Stone Cold Steve Austin. I'm saying he helped make Stone Cold Steve Austin. Stone Cold Steve Austin made Stone Cold Steve Austin, right?
But if Taker puts the mouth on him, if Taker refuses to work with him, if Taker refuses to lose to him, because Taker has ruined people before by putting the mouth on them.
Right.
DDP's WWE run was largely shit because Taker didn't get it, didn't like him, and put the mouth on him and said, I don't really want to work with this guy. I don't really like what he's doing.
I'm not saying that Stone Cold Steve Austin would have been nothing without The Undertaker, but The Undertaker really gave him a great opponent, a great war. That whole thing with the Ministry of Darkness. I mean, all that stuff. He gave him a great platform.
It helps cement Austin as the guy.
Yeah.
Nobody gets over alone in a vacuum. It takes two to tango.
And yeah, you could say he didn't need Taker. Sure. I mean, maybe the wrestling business as a whole didn't need Taker, but you could argue that all night long. But guess what? We live in a world where I think it would have been a completely different if the Undertaker never existed. I mean, I don't think maybe WCW might have won the Monday Night Wars.
WWE might not have made it out of the bankruptcy, because you have to remember, you can talk about who we like and who we don't. There are guys that are pillars,
right,
within whatever company they work for. If you don't have that pillar, if you don't have that guy that you can call on and get a house at a moment's notice, when you really need to draw a house, you're done.
And by the way, Anthony, Stone Cold Steve Austin is on my Mount Rushmore for the WWE. He was one of, if not the biggest box office draw of all time in WWE.
I believe
I'm not disrespect. That's not a disrespect or a slight on Stone Cold Steve Austin by saying the Undertaker helped his career. He did help his career. Why do you think? Why do you think there's such this? Why do you, AJ? If you have not watched
that on the Broken Skull sessions,
if you have not, I almost guarantee you, Anthony has not watched those. You need to watch those. Okay, those guys are really good friends. They're both from Texas. They got a lot in common. And they've been through hell and back as far as wrestling is concerned.
Yeah, they came up together.
They came up together. I mean, they are very close friends, and they had a great conversation. And then they ran out of time. They talked for an hour and a half, and they had to do another one for another hour. All right, he says he's watched those. Well, if you've watched those, then you know what I'm talking about. Because what you're getting upset about is you're saying Stone Cold Steve Austin's better than The Undertaker. That's not what I'm arguing. I'm not arguing. I'm not saying that Stone Cold needed The Undertaker. I'm saying that Stone Cold Steve Austin benefited from The Undertaker. That's all I'm saying. All right. So, and I agree with Alan and you. This ain't the last time we've ever seen him. Last time we've seen him wrestle, but this ain't the last time we've ever seen him. Keith, I want you to talk about this.
So obviously, very bad week for the internet wrestling community. Bob Ryder passed away on Wednesday night after a long battle with cancer. He was found Wednesday in his home. Bob Ryder, it's not impossible to say that the internet wrestling community as we know it now would not have happened, as we know it today, is because of Bob Ryder. It's not realistic to say it wouldn't have happened in some form or another, but Bob Ryder was the guy that got on Prodigy, that took over the wrestling folder on Prodigy, built it up, nurtured it. Bob Ryder is the guy that hired Dave Scherer and brought Dave Scherer into wrestling, which brought Mike Johnson into wrestling. So you have PW Insider in large part because of Bob. Unfortunately, I'm in disagreement with Bob. You have Impact Wrestling, for better or for worse. Impact Wrestling exists because Bob Ryder, when he saw that WWE was going to become a monopoly, got the Jarretts out on that fishing trip and said, you have to form a company. You have to form an alternative to WWE. Bob also was the one that bought the domain for ECWWrestling.com and spearheaded ECW's official presence on the internet and all the innovations there. Bob Ryder loved this business. And Bob Ryder, when you look at the tributes from the boys, Bob Ryder worked from the first day in TNA until Bob Ryder's last day on this earth. Bob was answering phone calls. Bob was doing business. Bob was integral to WCW and WCW's internet presence. A man that just, his contributions are many. His legacy is great. I offer my condolences to Bob Ryder's friends and family. I can only imagine the pain that you're going through right now, and I want to tell them that we mourn with you. We are all better because Bob Ryder was on this earth, and he was a fan of professional wrestling. Bob Ryder is one of the godfathers of this show because of the things that Bob Ryder did to bring wrestling to the internet in the form that it is now.
Well said. Thank you very much, Keith. Rest in peace, Bob. Every time that we lose a wrestler, a behind-the-scenes guy, a promoter, a referee, and we get wind of it, we have and always will honor them on Around the Turnbuckle. Alan.
Yes.
I want you to start talking about this.
So this coming Wednesday, December 2nd, AEW is having
infringement.
They are having a winter special. It is basically a televised pay-per-view to it's not very yeah, it's not a very large show. It's still Dynamite. It's only 2 hours long, so you can't really fit that much in there. But we do have 5 matches. I can go over the card. It's sure to be a fun episode of Dynamite.
Sure.
So we have Britt Baker be wrestling Layla Hirsch, who is a relatively new signing to Dynamite or AEW. Sorry. That match should be good. I mean, 2 good female workers in the ring. That's just more of a their match, I believe.
Sure.
I feel like that's probably the opener. Kind of get everything palates warm.
You have Chris Jericho versus Frankie Kazarian, because last week on Dynamite, I believe it was last week, he had a match against Christopher Daniels. So I'm not sure if they're going to be starting a SCU Inner Circle thing, or if they're just doing it because of Jericho versus SCU. I'm not quite sure, but him and Christopher Daniels had a great match last week. It was kind of funny because it reminded me, it's like, oh yeah, these are 2 very similar guys in the sense that they're both older. So it's kind of cool to see. It's kind of weird to think, well, they've never wrestled each other before. It's kind of odd. But
well, you have to think about it. I mean, when Daniels burst on the scene, you're talking about 2000, and Jericho was in WWE for most of the past 2 decades.
Yeah.
So Daniels, bopped around to every promotion that's not WWE that you could think of. He was with Impact. He was with Ring of Honor. He reinvented himself with SCU and everything else. So I'm gonna have to go back and do some fast forwarding because I want to watch that match.
It was a really weird thing because it's like you have these 2 legends in their own rights, and like they're finally meeting for the first time out of nowhere. It was a pretty good experience. And so now this week
that's the only thing I don't love about it, because I feel like you can get, especially with that audience, you could have built that up. Like, to me, I might have done it in reverse. I would have probably, if I was going to do anybody cold in that, I would have done Kazarian cold.
Yeah.
And then I would have built to Daniels.
That would have been better, probably, yeah.
And I mean, ultimately, I want to get Jericho in there with Sky to try to make Sky. But I'm going to build Daniels a little bit because I know I can do something with the Jericho-Daniels match. Like, I can maybe have it go a little too far, and then like Jericho injures Daniels, and then that gives Sky that extra motivation to get in there.
Jericho did wrestle Scorpio Sky before when he challenged for the title on Dynamite.
Right, but I mean, that's like a year ago, and I mean, they did do a little bit of building to that. But I feel like you could get a good little grudge match.
I know I see where you're coming from. Yeah,
you put a little stank on it and get it.
But
out there.
Jericho versus Kazarian, a part of the card. Then you have a tag team match: Darby Allin and Cody Rhodes versus Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs, with Taz and Brian Cage at ringside. That's sure to be a heel fest. I can only imagine, because you got 4, heels in there, 2 faces, but I think they could put on a really good, the 2 faces overcome the odds sort of match there.
Yeah, and I mean, that sounds like what they're booking too.
Then you have the Dynamite Diamond Battle Royale.
Battle Royal.
Remember that thing?
Yeah, for the people who don't recall, a while back they had the same exact match, and MJF won, and for winning he got a diamond ring.
Diamond ring.
MJF will be defending it in this match, I believe, if I'm correct. Will be
Will.
defending it against several others. I forget how many are exactly in it. It's like 15, 20 guys. They have the full list of guys. I don't remember.
I will read you the list that has been announced so far. Besides MJF, you got Wardlow, you
That's
got
helped for MJF.
Hangman Page, Sammy Guevara, John Silver, Alex Reynolds, Isaiah Cassidy, Mark Quinn, Matt Hardy, Matt Seidel, Scorpio Sky, Sean Spears, Orange Cassidy, Kip Sabian, and Miro.
Yeah, so a big, battle royale with all those guys in it.
Just to get everybody on the show that has any kind of name value that wasn't booked into anything else.
Well, I mean, but to be fair, like I said, it's only a 2-hour episode of Dynamite, so they can only fit in so much into the one show. So having a battle royale like this is, it's just an exciting touch. Can MJF defend it? I mean, he does have 2 members of his faction, Inner Circle. Anyway, he has 2 fellow Inner Circle members in there to help him out, in Sammy Guevara and Wardlow. So,
you got the ability to possibly tease, dissension with him and Wardlow and move towards those.
Possibly, yeah. Like you could
all that if you want.
Yeah, you could have like Wardlow, quote unquote, accidentally throw him out or something.
Yeah. Or, in modern booking, Wardlow throws him out on purpose, turns on him, and, we do the feud in, like, the next 3 weeks, and we're done.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. And then, finally, the main event of the show is Jon Moxley defends his title against Kenny Omega, which they've been building to for a while now. I mean, obviously, they had a match before, the non-sanctioned match at, what was it? Was it Full Gear last year? I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe it was
last year's Full Gear.
Yeah, that was the match that caused the controversy because everybody was saying it was too violent for television, and AEW went over the line. And
yeah, he put him through like a glass table.
Yeah, there was glass. There was glass. There was barbed wire. There were tacks. There was everything involved possible.
So at least it's not like, they don't have a history and let's just give Kenny Omega a title match.
Yeah, there's quite a history here, and there's quite a history, quite a build. I mean, it's not the most exciting, jam-packed AEW event ever, because even though it's not a pay-per-view, it's just a Dynamite special. But
even their pay-per-views are kind of falling off for people now, because I think
this last one was quite good.
Yeah, but I mean, I think AEW is starting to fall into the rut of they have who they have the audience they have, and they're not really going to do a lot to expand it.
Yeah.
I feel like 100% they're going to put the title on Kenny Omega here, and I don't think that's going to do much to expand the audience either.
Well, I'm pretty sure they're trying to start like an elite heel faction sort of thing where Kenny's the champ, the Bucks are champs.
But we have too many heel factions on this show already. We have the Inner Circle. We have Pac and the Lucha Brothers. We have the Dark Order that nobody cares about. We have so many freaking groups.
The Taz Mission.
Yeah, we got Taz's group. We have is Eddie Kingston still doing his his
whole group turned on him and went back to being the Deadly Triangle.
Oh, good. What the hell? There's too many. If everybody is I've said this before and I'll say it again. If everybody is in a group, nobody is in a group. Groups don't matter. The reason the Horsemen worked is because there was nothing else like the Horsemen. Woo! It was the first time, and nobody else was teamed up like that. And the babyfaces all had to kind of just decide that they were the greater threat and would form these temporary alliances to take care of them. and there's no babyface group in AEW to deal with the 3 or 4 heel group. So now in desperation, they're making the heel groups fight with each other. But the problem with that is, well, why should I care about this piece of shit versus this piece of shit over who's a bigger piece of shit? What the fuck?
AEW's biggest problem right now is there's not a lot going on, and their roster is getting more and more limited because they're not quite sure what to do with everybody at this point. I really like it. I don't want to like just say that's like this is the only way, but I'm sure they still. I'm pretty sure they still need to get some more signings in because they don't really have the most to work with, and they've backed themselves into a corner with some of their bigger guys. So it's like I feel like most of AEW's draw nowadays, like as of now, is when someone new comes in because that's when they start trending. Because like, I mean, I check Twitter and stuff and places like that rather frequently to see what's trending, what's going on. And of course, every wrestling show trends. Like when Raw's on, it's trending. When SmackDown's on, it's trending. When NXT is on, it's not trending because AEW is. But AEW is always trending. Like all
Took
the
a
other
shot
shows.
at NXT.
AEW shows, AEW trends like every other show. They all trend. They're number one because everybody loves wrestling. I think. Apparently on Twitter they do. But
yeah, well, Twitter's not the real world. Twitter is its own bubble.
But AEW trends the most when something new happens because a lot of the stuff they do now is repetitive. So when something like when something happens, when there's a new debut, when there's a title change, when there's something like that, they trend. And what I think they need to do is they need to find a way to bring in like he said, to expand the audience. And I think a way to do that is to bring in something big. Like they need the thing. Like I remember, what was it the other week? It was really exciting because Tony Khan said, the whole shift the tide of wrestling thing, and that didn't go well. Yeah,
that happened, huh?
Yeah, because and it was exciting. People that there was a lot of viewership on that show. People were curious what he meant. Like what's going to happen? Is there a big debut? And
right, but then it was a letdown, don't you think?
Yeah, no, I'm not saying it wasn't. Of course it was. It was a humongous letdown. But it was. They need something like that to happen, but to have it not be a letdown. Like,
they need to stop hot shotting. Because that's what that is. That's a hot shot. And what I mean by hot shot is when you do every crazy thing you can think of. You bring in any guy you can think of. You switch the belts. Like, this is my problem with so many fantasy bookers. And I think Tony Khan falls into this because when fans try to book, their idea tends to be, okay, in week 1, I'm going to bring in like the Young Bucks to Raw, and they're going to win the tag titles, and then they're going to win the SmackDown tag titles, and then they're going to win every tag title ever, and they're going to call themselves the unified greatest tag team champions in the universe, and they're going to super kick the roster, and they're going to beat the fuck out of everybody. Wow, that's a great week of television. Everybody is going to frickin' watch that. That is amazing. You're going to have all eyes on you. Everybody is going to talk about this. This is going to be freaking amazing. What are we going to do next week? I don't know. Because there's nothing you can do next week. You've done it all this week. And this is the problem. Is AEW and WWE, all these people, they're looking for the short-term pop and the short-term gain. What you have to do sometimes is you have to bring somebody in who's going to say, look, I'm going to burn everything down. You're going to suck for a minute. Because I'm going to piss off all your audience that's here. They're going to go away. But I'm going to slowly build everything back up. And then you're going to have a different audience, yes, but they're going to be more dedicated. There's going to be more of them paying for this shit. And you're going to have bigger houses and everything else. This is what used to happen back in the day. If you were over-reliant on something and the audience pulls away because they're like, I've seen that. You stop, you refocus, you rebuild. Yes, you're not going to be as profitable, maybe. You're not going to be as great as you once were, but you're going to be able to sustain people over a longer period of time. The Attitude Era was a slash and burn kind of thing. That was a sustained 3-year hot shot. And that's part of why WWE is not recovered. Because what do you do after you've done everything? And you've done everything with the greatest, most over collection of talent that has ever been and probably ever will be. Sometimes, I mean, slow and steady wins the race. I've said that for a while. And I think AEW's problem is they grossly overestimated the appeal of their top talents. And they don't know how to build anybody up. They don't know how to deal with this attention deficit disorder culture and bring the kind of storylines that will bring people back week after week after week. Because you're right, they're in a rut. They have good matches on the shows, but it's kind of like I used to say about Ring of Honor back in the day. Okay, the first match to the last match is great, but if it's all great, nothing sticks out, nothing stands out, and I don't feel like I necessarily need to come back because I'm just going to see the same thing next week and the week after that and the week after that.
Well, then, that falls back into the point that we had before, which is no one knows how to book anymore because nothing gets built anymore. I mean, things. I mean, it's not, and like we said before, it's not just AEW; it's everywhere now, where building storylines isn't really being done, and it's detrimental to all the businesses, and especially, and even more so to ones like AEW who are trying to build their audience now. I mean, like on both ends, you have the fans who will eat anything up, and that's what's keeping most of it alive right now, is the fans who will. They don't care what's going on. They don't care about story. They don't care about any of that. They just want to watch wrestling, and that's how it. And all the companies have fans like that. The product could be complete garbage, but they're going to watch anyway, whether it be via loyalty or just because they genuinely like it for some reason. But
AEW tends to cater those fans, I think, and reward those fans. And the problem is those fans are a minority of a minority. Wrestling fans are already a minority, and that hardcore cult that just wants to tune in and wants to, grade every Topicon Hilo and every dive to the floor, and you can't have a great match without that. I mean, go back and watch like The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. Go watch these guys that could do 5 minutes staring at each other, and that audience is fucking riveted. Nothing's happening. Nobody throws a punch. They're just staring at each other. And they are getting the biggest reaction because they're getting the audience to the point where they're like, oh my God, I can't wait till they do something. And they can throw the worst looking punch ever. And that audience will go, that was amazing. That's the art of being over. And nobody has that to that degree anymore. That art is being lost. And I do see, and that's why I get so heartened when I go to some of these local shows and stuff, and I see guys that are doing that are doing the little tricks. Like I complimented Tony Batista the other day. He stopped part of his match to do the old heel thing of, oh, the babyface pulled the little bit of hair I have. He pulled my knot of hair that I have. And then he's looking at the audience when Rob Atkins is saying, no, I didn't. And he's looking at the audience going, you saw the hair pull, right? Nah, you're full of shit. Well, fuck you anyway. You saw it over here, right? Like, yes, it's cheap heat. Yes, he's stalling, but it's good stalling because he's getting the audience involved. He's getting the audience to hate him that little bit much more. So the next time Rob Atkins throws a move on him, it's going to matter that much more because now it's the babyface is going to get justice on the crooked lying heel.
Yeah. I think I lost my train of thought.
All right. So I need to pay some bills, guys. So first off, tune in tomorrow night where Keith and I will be sitting down with Dorian Robinson. He assures me, Keith, he will not be on the road or in his car this time. He will be live and he will be with us the whole show. Yeah, knock on wood. This is try number 2 for Dorian Robinson. That's tomorrow night at Around the Turnbuckle Live. We also have Ciphered Knowledge with Chrissy tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. And then we have Tuesday night, we have Home Team Sports with me and Phil and Shango and AJ talking about the NFL, talking about whatever else we want to talk about, whatever pops up. And on Wednesday nights at 8 o'clock, Spitting with Spitter at 8 p.m. live with our boy TJ Spitter. Also, all those shows I just mentioned, plus Around the Turnbuckle, is making a permanent move from streaming live on Facebook to streaming live exclusively on YouTube. So if you haven't already, get over to 2M1L Media on YouTube and subscribe today. Hit that notification bell, and you won't miss a single episode of Cipher Knowledge, of Home Team Sports, of Spitting with Spitter and Around the Turnbuckle. And we're going to have more content. You know, the entire thing with 2M1L Media is to take you away from life for an hour and just hopefully entertain you. We entertain Keith and I and Alan down there. We like to entertain our fellow wrestling fans, right? Christy likes to have guests on that maybe give you some information, some useful information. TJ just likes to entertain, right? He had 2 episodes. He had 2 bonus episodes on Friday where he had, some viral, sensation, Big Bad Mac on there. That was his twin. And then on midnight, he had an episode with an MMA fighter. You know what I mean? Like, whatever. But anyway.
I was supposed to entertain people. I thought I was supposed to teach the Philistines what good wrestling is.
And that too.
You never told me I had to entertain anyone. That's a whole different skill set.
Some people find you entertaining.
Do they?
Don't sell yourself short.
You don't let me see those comments, I feel like.
I want to ask you guys this question
again.
What?
I'm getting back to my attorney.
Go ahead.
I knew you were screwing me over.
I want to talk about this because the WWE is possibly considering having TLC at Tropicana Field where the Tampa Bay Rays play baseball with fans. Socially distanced.
Pay-per-views you could do this with. Why the fuck are you going to do it with the December?
Because it's the best one. It's the best one.
Because I'll explain why if you give me a minute.
He'll explain why.
This had better be good.
They are talking about it, and they're as a trial run kind of thing because they don't want like anything to go wrong when it comes to the Royal Rumble, right? Because the next pay-per-view after this is the Royal Rumble. And why not use TLC, a garbage pay-per-view that we've already said this a million times, that TLC nobody gives a damn about, because after Survivor Series, we're just worried about the Royal Rumble, right? And nobody has ever cared about TLC. That's why it's a gimmick pay-per-view, because they're hoping that the gimmick sells it, and it doesn't. It's the least watched pay-per-view of the year. But TLC...
And yet it has the greatest potential to hurt your locker room and fuck up your plans because you're asking people to go do stunt show matches for nobody, for apathetic fans.
Correct. What I'm saying, yeah, and you and I have both talked about the fact that gimmick pay-per-view should go away and gimmick matches should be used for, storyline purposes or ending feuds versus
like they were designed for in the first
place.
Right,
like Hell in a Cell or whatnot. TLC and TLC's on. I mean, the thing with TLC is,
I never really liked TLC.
I liked it when it was it was tag titles and it was the edgy Christian Hardys and Dudleys.
It's great. I agree with Dad because to some extent it's they need to do this trial run. because a Royal Rumble with no fans will be the worst Royal Rumble of all time.
Yes. In the Thunderdome?
No, that would be stupid.
No, I know. I'm saying. I'm agreeing with you.
With
I'm one of the only people that really doesn't care for the Thunderdome.
But with
Who, me?
No, I am.
Oh,
I don't
do
care for
not
it.
care for the
I don't care.
Thunderdome.
I think it's stupid.
I don't like the Thunderdome either. You're not alone on that.
But most of the
AEW.
feedback I hear is how good it is and blah blah blah. And I'm like, I think you'll have Stockholm syndrome because you're happy for anything that's not the empty warehouse.
No.
I was gonna make that point earlier when we were still on the AEW discussion and just talking in general. Is I think a lot of why this past year in wrestling has been so difficult. I mean, of course, it's obviously COVID. I mean, a lack of fans does a lot, and the reason why I think a lot of people aren't over now is because in the past year, a lot of people are impressionable. A lot of wrestling fans are. So, like when we would watch wrestling on television, and the whole crowd is cheering for a guy, we know that person's over. If they're booing for a guy, we know that that person has heat. Fans dictate a lot more than we think they do. And we've learned that this past year. And that's why, when we watch wrestling now, a guy could come out, there's no one cheering for him because there's no one there. So, like, for example, when this pandemic first started, like The Fiend, who's probably the most over person WWE has, hearing nothing when he came out made him seem like he was dumb. I mean, he's not, but like there's no noise, there's nothing. And
yeah,
I mean, AEW has a few fans in Daly's place, and when they first brought them in, I immediately thought it added a lot. Just hearing fans sing Jericho's theme song again was amazing.
Yes,
and
I agree with that.
And if WWE can get this to work, I mean, even at a time like this when the pandemic is getting worse than it's ever been, I know it's a complete risk and it's a complete trial. But if
the NFL is doing it,
but if they can somehow get even a portion of fans in the arena for the Royal Rumble, it'll make that event go from probably the worst Rumble of all time to watchable.
They're allowed 10% is what I'm being told, and the capacity of Tropicana Field is 45,000, so that means they could have 4,500 fans.
Yeah, I mean, you don't even need that much. I mean, even 1,000 in a relatively smaller indoor arena, or I mean, not smaller, but even 1,000 fans in an indoor arena would be enough to hear noise. But like when the Rumble happens, which I mean, obviously it's my favorite pay-per-view of the year, and I know it is for all of the other people. It's the Royal Rumble match itself is extremely exciting, but like this year, what if we have a return? What if we have a legend? What if we have
last year?
Oh my God! Yeah, that place. We were there. We were all together in the same. We were all
together. That was the last pay-per-view we watched together.
My reaction, Keith's reaction, Dad's reaction, like
all threw on the floor.
The whole arena's reaction, and just not like that. That right there is the essence of the Rumble to me. The returns, the legends, the big whoever the big guy is right now coming out. Yeah, well, not just surprises.
You almost don't even care who wins.
Well, no, it's not just surprises. It's also when the current big guys come out. Like in this case, like if the Fiend's in the Rumble this year, when he comes out, or whoever else is over at the time, just whenever the big guys, the surprises, the whoever comes out and the place explodes. That's
you mean when you hear the Undertaker's bell?
Yeah, and hearing like the fans counting down when someone's about to come out, but like it's just without that, the Rumble's going to suck. Like, just I'm like try watching a Royal Rumble match like now, but like mute your television. That's stupid.
Right.
Like, if they can at least get some fans in an arena for the Rumble match, it'll instantly propel that event to make me want to be even more inclined to watch it.
I miss the fans most of all in professional wrestling because
everyone does.
Whether I agreed with them or not, whether it was a smart crowd or a not smart crowd, you always knew, like, Chicago versus New York versus Philly versus out west versus like the Midwest where they're all like they're the ones that cheer for the faces and boo the heels. No matter what kind of crowd it was, I miss that interaction between the wrestlers and the fans. I miss the chants. I miss all.
It's I
part
know,
of professional wrestling, and I'm sure every wrestler out there that watches our show would echo that they miss the fans more than anything in this whole 2020, and 2020 just needs to go away.
I mean, I know we discuss it. We discuss it every time we talk about modern wrestling because I mean we've had this discussion several times now on Around the Turnbuckle, just talking about the current state of wrestling. Because, I mean, as a podcast, as a show, it's our duty to not just to discuss whatever topics at hand, or in your guys' case, interview local talent on Sundays, but it's hard to not at least somewhat talk about what's going on now. And what's going on now is the same thing every week, because all we can fall back to as a point is, well, COVID's really fucked up wrestling, and it has. A lot of the cases, not just wrestling, in a lot of sports, we've really just seen the impact of having no fans. And I think wrestling, it's been the biggest, because with no fans, like, just the viewership's down, everything's just down, because the average wrestling fan will turn on their television and go, "There's no fans. This is stupid," and then just flip on something else.
Well said. Well said.
You lose a lot with not having an audience there.
Yeah, well said. And Keith, I don't know if we've ever actually talked about it, but I'm not a big fan of the Thunderdome. The thing about the Thunderdome is I'd rather it's the lesser of two evils, right? I'd rather have that and with pumped in crowd noise than, like you said, an empty warehouse listening to just, maybe have 10 or 15 NXT guys pounding on the glassed wall or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's stupid.
All right, we got to get out of here. Any parting gifts there, Professor?
Not really. We didn't have a lot of interaction tonight, so there's no one for me to really fight with or anything.
No, just AJ, Anthony Joseph in his mouth.
Pretty much.
Little Big Al, what's any parting gifts?
Yeah, my final thought for the night. I really hope that fans can work out for WWE. I hope everybody is safe. I hope there's no complications, so that we can work towards getting it more back on the road. And most importantly, like I said, for the Royal Rumble this January, I really hope that it ends up working out. It's such an effect on wrestling. I just really hope that they can get that back on track.
And with that, guys, we're going to shut it down. I'm the Big Al Boski. He's Professor Keith. He is Little Big Al. And we'll see you next time on Around the Turnbuckle, which is tomorrow at 6 o'clock with Dorian Robinson live. We'll see you all then.
Ladies and gentlemen, what you gonna
No.
do, brother?
What are you doing, people? You can't.
What? If you smell what the rock